Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we are back from the brand new video. Today's video is a little bit different than our regular content as we're kind of stuck here midweek, not quite able yet to set our sights on the next game coming at the weekend. We're kind of stuck here in limbo, but I'm not want to sit here and not make a video today because it's been exactly a month since we lifted 55, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, a month has passed already since we won the title. So I wanted to make a video today and I was thinking about what I want to talk about, and I was reflecting on yesterday's fantastic news about the skipper signing a cheeky wee contract extension. I thought, you know what, as it's 55 day, and happy 55 day to you, by the way, let's speak about one of the guys that's been instrumental in getting us back to where we belong and going ahead and lifting that title. And that is the skipper. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video, ladies and gentlemen. And it may, just may, answer that age-old question of, is Tavernier a Rangers legend? Now, all cards on the table. Everyone who's probably seen this channel before knows exactly where I sit with this camp. But instead of me just sitting here saying, aye, he is, and turning the video off, I thought we would dive in and break down the man's player profile, check what he's done at his time at the Glasgow Rangers, so me and you can have a genuine conversation and reflect and react to Tavernier's incredible 6-year journey, because I think if you watch to the end of today's video, you will see it has truly been an incredible story, and I think by then you'll have a perfect answer whether it's yes or whether it's no to that age-old question. But as tradition here on the old channel, before we go down that rabbit hole of Rangers things, as always, just a friendly wee reminder, if you enjoy the channel, please consider helping the channel out. We are closing in on 50,000 subscribers, so any help would be greatly appreciated. So let's start off the journey then, all the way back at the start, because it's now been 6 years since Tavernier joined this football club, which is just scary to say because I can remember talking about him. That's how fast 6 years seemingly has gone by. But it's important to put in a context. When Tavernier joined our football club, it was after a horrific season in the Championship that saw us fall behind the eventual champions Hearts, who obviously won the league and were promoted, and we went into the playoffs before self-destructing versus Motherwell in the final, in which, yes, the infamous punch happened. But all memes of the punch and all that bollocks to one side, the actual prospect, if you could set your minds back, of another year in the Championship was a bit deflating and a bit grinding, because that was the first league that we didn't win in the first time of asking on our journey back to where we belong. So we all knew changes were going to be made, and changes were, ladies and gentlemen, and obviously Tavernier was one of those changes. And Tav, for pretty much the first minute he pulled on the Rangers shirt, didn't waste time to make an impression. And honestly, that season was brilliant under Warburton, where we had guys like Wacon performing so high. But for me, Tavernier was the standout, because if we just focus in on the league for a second, he played all 38 games in the Championship, scoring 10 goals and getting an incredible 18 assists, which is just baffling to think about. But what's so damn impressive about this lad, as we go on this journey, that'll not be the only time he has ridiculous stats, ladies and gentlemen. He was also able to reflect that in the top flight of Scottish football. But we aren't quite there just yet, because firstly we need to take a step back and reflect on his first season at Glasgow Rangers in terms of all competitions, because in total he played 50 games, he grabbed 15 goals and got a ridiculous 23 assists throughout the entire frickin' season, which makes it 38 goal contributions in 50 games in his first season. I think it's fair to say, straight off the bat, first season was a success. But moving on to the next season, I can safely say, ladies and gentlemen, this was Tavernier's worst season in a Rangers shirt. He just went from a thunderous, electric first season to a second season that was very disappointing, because I think him and a lot of the other players that got promoted up from the Championship maybe picked up bad habits from the Championship, because the difference in quality, no matter what people try to say about our league and everything like that, there is a difference in the top flight of Scottish football, and that's why you see people coming down south, coming up here and struggling. Joey Barton, your big Shane Duffy, who was supposed to be this and this, he couldn't kick his own arse up here. It's different. You need to be at a different level from the first whistle to the last, and I just think we picked up too many bad habits for the Championship against the level that we were, and it just never transitioned to the top flight. And I think Tavernier did have a very poor season, especially defensively, when you started to hear for the first time how vulnerable he was defensively, which I think upon reflection of that season is a fair tag to put on Tavernier for that year in that year only, and maybe you're always going to have that after getting 38 goal contributions. You'd want to go forward, but it never happened, and he ended up playing 44 games in all competitions, only grabbing 2 goals and only 7 assists. Which, to be fair, if you're looking at just as a stat-by-stat basis, you're probably saying that's a decent season for a right-back, but it didn't feel that way upon that season. But let's put the Joey Barton, the Nico Cranshire and the Senderos season behind us. Let's transition into the next season. It saw Pedro Caixinha, and unfortunately, the progress ended on embarrassment. But within this disaster of a season where there was so much madness, not only on the park, but off the park, crazy signings, crazy moments, it was just a crazy season. Within all that madness, you saw Tavernier start to grow as a player, and for me, this is the season where it started to click truly for Tavernier. He started to get rid of some of the bad habits that he maybe picked up again from the Championship. He started to adjust, and he started to have a solid season despite everything all around him just being absolutely chaotic. Honestly, the longer that season went on, the more Tavernier stood out as a player that you could see had something and was able to go to the next level. Again, not quite the player he was just yet, but you could see it's starting to click into gear, and it ended up finishing the season off with 46 games in all competition, 9 goals and 9 assists. And if you just focus in on the league, he played 33 games in all competitions and grabbed 15 goal contributions, which was a much better result. But again, overall, his performances for the most part was a sharp contrast from the season before. And that leads us perfectly into next season as Tavernier is finding his feet and becoming a much more consistent performer for Rangers. We got a bit of consistency off the park, and that is by the gaffer, Steven frickin' Gerrard. In his first season, there were so many eyes, so many questions, but one of the main questions was, going into this season, was who was Gerrard going to pick as the club captain now that Lee Wallace had left? And I think when you had guys like Alan McGregor there, I think they were favourites, but Gerrard came out very, very early, looked at Tavernier, identified him as the guy, and from there, he never looked back. And I just think all this Tav getting better individually, the team getting better, because as my dad always says, you always play better with better players. And now that we've got consistency and better management and coaching staff, all this right here, along with that captain's armband and the responsibility to be the example to every other player in and around the football club, all that was the perfect storm. And within that perfect storm, you saw Tavernier lead Rangers to a phenomenal European run, a lengthy European run, which I'll be honest with you, despite it being years later, I'm still not over that offside goal versus Spartak Moscow. But I'll move on, ladies and gentlemen. But also Tavernier led us to a couple of wins over Celtic, and it was a much more well-rounded season for us as a football club. And individually for Tavernier, he was absolutely outstanding. I mean, you just look at it, the first season upon pulling on that captain's armband and being told, you're the guy, go ahead and be the example for this football club. He played 57 games in all competitions. He scored 17 goals and got 20 assists. Ladies and gentlemen, that's madness. That's never ever been seen before in the top flight of Scottish football from a fullback. And speaking of never seen before, if you just narrow in on just the league competition itself, nobody could touch Tavernier that year. He had 33 games played in the league. He got 11 goals and 14 assists, making it 25 goal contributions in just 33 games. Head and shoulders the best player in the league that season, and the stats, they show that. But it's around this season for me where Tavernier was just simply special individually that he started to show another side of his game as well, and really started to show almost a defensive appetite. Again, I'm not sitting here saying that he's Philip Lamb back there and lives and breathes on slide tackles, but you could see an improvement defensively in that season that did play its part massively in us keeping 26 clean sheets in the 57 games in Steven Gerrard's first season in charge. And that for me should have been the season that the old Tav can't defend tag was put to rest, because he showed it in that season that he can go forward, but also he can do a job going back as well. And that growth as a defender and that improvement as a defender only got better the next again season, which obviously leads us into last season. Now, we know how it ended, right, with the season ending early and the terrible second half of the season. But if you remember the first 6 months of that, Tavernier especially was so dominant doing that right-hand side. He was controlling entire games by himself because Candeas was gone now, and it was on Tavernier today, the entire job going forward, but also going back. And for me, he relished that opportunity, and he was outstanding right up to the moment we bet Celtic 2-1 at Parkhead, where again, individually, Tavernier, so dominant on that right hand side. Now again, as we've already mentioned, we know what happened when we came back from the winter break. We just never looked ourselves, but it's no surprise to me that we didn't have Tavernier for the first 5 games coming back for the winter break, because he usually sets the standard. And despite the people that didn't rate him or didn't like him, when he's in the team, we are a different animal. He's a massive vocal point to your team. He sets the tempo, he sets the tone, and he usually has that moment of quality with that right bit that if we need an assist, he usually chips in on one. But without him in the 5 weeks game, again, we were so flat, we were so negative, it got us in a downward spiral. And again, I'm not saying if Tavernier was fit for those 5 games at the second quarter of the season, wouldn't have happened, but for me, it played its part. And yes, when he did come back, he did get a fantastic assist versus Hibs, but the damage was already done. We were on a downward slide, and that led us in to eventually lose 1-0 versus Hamilton in the curtain of the season, common calling not too soon after. So with the fact that this was an incomplete season, and of course the injury of the 5-6 weeks period that he was out, it does affect these numbers slightly. That did see him play 46 games in all competitions, grabbing only 3 goals, which was a surprise that season given the journey that he done last year. But he still was the guy when we needed him to be, and he still was a mainstay attacking wise for our team, as he picked up an impressive 15 clean sheets and kept 21 clean sheets, in the 46 games that he played. Which that right there leads us perfectly to this season right here. And coming into this season, the pressure that these players would have felt on their shoulders, I don't think will ever be able to be described, because we felt pressure as fans of the football club with our pals and everything all the way around us. We felt that pressure well. Can you imagine the magnitude of pressure that these Rangers players felt coming into this season, knowing it was either 55 or 10 in a row? Well, you take all that pressure right there that we can't even quantify in our brains, and you just add it by tenfold to the skipper, Tavernier. The pressure that would have been on this laddie to either be the captain when Celtic win 10 in a row, knowing that that's going to stick with you forever. No matter what you do in your career, you'll be remembered as the Rangers captain that allowed Celtic's 10 in a row to happen. Or you can be the Rangers captain when you lift 55, and it brings me so much pleasure and so much happiness to say it's the latter, and the man deserves this, because so many times on this channel we've talked about the evolution of Steven Gerrard's Rangers side. Season upon this, he's improved and added different pieces, and he's got better every year. Well, what about the evolution of James Tavernier from being a goal-scoring fullback to a complete modern-day fullback that's able to dominate an entire pitch himself, both attacking and defensively? And that's not only domestically that he's doing this week in and week out, he's also doing it now in the latter stages of European tournaments and in the group stages, being able to lead a Rangers side to an undefeated group campaign. And that, for me, he never gets the credit for the way he dominates an entire side of the park, pretty much himself. The journey that this man has been on is there to be seen and there to be admired, because he's took every bitter pill that he's had to swallow, every disappointment, every knock, every question that's ever been asked of this laddie. He's took on his stride, and he's used a season upon season not to rest on his laurels and enjoy his wage packet. No, he's went there and he's stuck into the game, he's worked his arse off, and he's tried year upon year to get better and improved. And he's done it, taking us perfectly into the situation that we find ourselves in this season, and the biggest season that we've had in a very long time, with the pressure at its absolute peak, do or die mentality. We needed our captain this season more than we've ever needed our captain in a very long time, and the boy stepped up and delivered with 41 games, 17 goals, 15 assists, and been a mainstay in a record-breaking defence that has only allowed 9 goals conceded in the league all season long. And that fact there of only conceding 9 goals in the league, added with the fact that Tavernier has kept 29 clean sheets in the 41 games that he has played this season, is for the final nail in the coffin of the myth that Tavernier can't defend. Tavernier is a vulnerability. Tavernier is a weak link back there. That myth should have died 2 seasons ago, but this season, with everything that we've accomplished, it's officially gone and buried. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're looking at right now is a modern day fullback who's at his peak of his game, and there's nobody that gets near him. His work rate, his determination, his mental strength and his leadership is all something that gets continuously praised by not only players and coaching staff around the football club right now, but players and everything that's left always speak so damn highly of what Tavernier is as a player in and around Rangers Football Club, how important that he is. And for those who love some stats, by the way, now let's take a step back and reflect on Tavernier's entire Rangers journey. James Tavernier, our skipper, has now played 284 games for Rangers, in which he has 152 goal contributions. That right there is terrifying to think about. That's scary. I mean, if you're sitting as a striker, having played 284 games, you're delighted to have 152 goal contributions. But the fact that this is coming from a right back, I don't think we will ever truly understand or appreciate what he is for our football club, because we'll never see it again. The stats and numbers, we will never ever see again, ladies and gentlemen, for a fullback. And you know what's even scarier than all that is? He's not done and dusted. He has went ahead and signed another contract extension, adding another 2 years, locking him up to the famous 2024, which I can only imagine what his stats are going to be. And I love the fact that despite the journey that he's been on, the knocks, everything that he's had, the fact that he's went ahead and left 55, he's not happy or satisfied with that. As the man said in his own words when he signed that contract extension, lifting 55 was only the beginning. And I cannot wait to be sitting here with you and that man leading our football club on the next journey and the next era of this football club. And with that being said, that's me done and dusted with today's video, ladies and gentlemen. This story right here is an incredible story of hard work, determination and incredible mental strength. And again, this is only the beginning, ladies and gentlemen, so I can't wait to see what comes next for our skipper, Tavernier. But to answer that age-old question, as you already knew going in to today's video, is Tavernier to be considered a Rangers legend? In my opinion, absolutely. What about you? Get involved down there in the comment section below and share your opinion on our skipper, the fact that he's signed a new contract extension, and do you consider him a legend of this football club? But that's it. Over to you now, ladies and gentlemen. I've said my piece. I look forward to reading what you've got to say down there in the comment section below. And if you are still watching, if you don't mind hitting a like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. It helps it come up in the recommendations to help other people and all that find the channel. So any help would be greatly appreciated as we close in on 50k. But until the next video, take care of yourselves, everyone. I've been Siege Over 92. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.